Deva. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you for joining us. We wanted to seek the blessings of Shri Shri Radha Madhav, Radha Shyam Sundar, Krishna Balaram, Govikai, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled Vaishnavas. To begin, sort of the final leg of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the 12th canto. When we say leg, of course, this refers to the crown of the Lord. Bhagavatam has 1 and 2 are the lotus feet, and then 3 to 9 are the rest of the body until the head, which is 10, and then 11 and 12 are like the crown. So this is a very important chapter, a very important canto, and the canto is entitled "The Age of Deterioration." So this is the beginning of Kali Yuga, basically. And a summary of the 12th canto begins with Sukadeva Goswami predicting the kings of the earth who will appear in the future during the age of Kali. So he lists so many different names, so many different dynasties. It's quite astounding, actually. Then he gives a description of the numerous faults of this age. That's chapter 2. We'll see that when we do chapter 2, probably on Monday, and how we can sort of relate with all of these faults. We can see those faults ourselves, within ourselves as well. After which the presiding goddess of the earth sarcastically berates the foolish members of the kingly order who perpetually try to conquer her. Mother Earth says, yes, great king, you're trying to win over all these kingdoms, but you know you're going to die very soon. You're wasting your time. Next, Sukadeva Goswami explains the 4 varieties of material annihilation, and then he gives his final advice to Maharaj Parikshit. So, of course, all of this Bhagavata is because of Maharaj Parikshit going onto the banks, because he was cursed to die in 7 days. So now the final moments of advice is given to Maharaj Parikshit by Sukadeva Goswami. Very, very important, intriguing advice. And thereafter, the king is bit by the snake bird Takshak, and he leaves the world. So this shows us that karma will always take its effect. We may be trying to do bhakti. Parikshit Maharaj was perfected by hearing Bhagavatam. Yet the snake bird still came. Takshak still came and bit him. So just because we're doing bhakti doesn't mean that the laws of karma doesn't impact us. It will impact us, but we are protected by the Supreme Lord. As he was protected and he went back to the spiritual world. Parikshit Maharaj went back to the spiritual world. So we shouldn't be under the false impression that I'll do bhakti and Krishna will take away all of my problems. In fact, problems will increase. If we look at the lives of the Pandavas, they were great devotees of Krishna. Yet they had the greatest problems as well. So it doesn't necessarily correlate that I'm a devotee, I shouldn't have any problems. In fact, the problems will increase. The Lord will perhaps increase, but give us a few more headaches so that we become even closer to him. It's in his control. It's up to him. Sutta Goswami concludes his narration of Bhagavatam to the sages at Naimisharanya, because this is a conversation in a conversation in a conversation. So many conversations are taking place simultaneously. By enumerating the teachers of the various branches of the Vedas and the Puranas, he also relates the pious history of Markandeya Rishi. This is really fascinating. What this Rishi asked for from the Lord. He asked for trouble, and the Lord gave him a lot of trouble. Very interesting. So Sutta Goswami, he also glorified the Supreme Lord in his universal form and in his expansion as the sun god. So we'll see that towards the end of the canto. Summarizing, he also summarizes all the topics that were discussed in this fantastic scripture. And then he offers his final benedictions and prayers. So let's start with chapter number 1. And this is a verse from this chapter. First verse. Huh? Can't be right.
Navanandanti Jakasche Papanaha Udarishyati Desham Abhave Jagatim Moria Bokshanti Vaikula. Translation: a certain Brahman, Chanakya, will betray the trust of King Nand and his 8 sons and will destroy their dynasty. In their absence, the Mauryas will rule the world as the age of Kali continues.
So yeah, this is not text 1. This is a little bit further down, like, I don't know, text 12 or 13. And it predicts this amazing Brahman, Chanakya, who I think we may have all heard of. He was an amazing Brahman, but he was also an amazing politician. And he disenthroned this king who was very puffed up. Anyway, let's have a look at this. Yeah, it was replaced by Chandragupta. Yeah, good. So chapter 1 is the degraded dynasties of Kali Yuga. This chapter briefly describes the future kings of the dynasty of Magad and how they became degraded because of the influence of the age of Kali, the rise of the Nanda dynasty. Sukadeva Goswami said, the last king mentioned in our previous chapter's conversation, enumeration of the future rulers of Magad dynasty was Puranjay. Puranjay's minister Shunak will assassinate the king and install his own son, Pradyota, on the throne. So this is all predictions now. Sukadeva Goswami is giving a prediction. What's going to happen in this beginning of Kali Yuga? After 14 generations in this family, there will be a king called Mahanandi, who will father a very powerful son in the womb of a Shudra woman known as Nanda. So the son is known as Nanda. Nanda will be the master of millions of soldiers and fabulous wealth. He will wreak havoc amongst the Kshatriyas, and from that time onwards, virtually all kings will be irreligious Shudras. Nanda will have 8 sons. So I don't know if anybody's read the chapter, but there's a lot of names. All of these 14 generations are named, but I've omitted those names because not that I didn't see any value in it. It's just we will never be able to remember any of that. I think I'll be able to remember the 14 generations a little bit easier. Anyway, a certain Brahman, Chanakya, will betray the trust of King Nand and his 8 sons and will destroy their dynasty. In their absence, the Mauryas will rule the world as the age of Kali continues. This Brahman, Chanakya, will enthrone Chandragupta. Now, Chandragupta was not in the line of Kshatriyas. He was actually, I can't remember his mother, but anyway, he was a Shudra. But he was very capable, extremely capable. And Chanakya saw his capability when he was teaching him. So he taught him the art of politics and warfare and enthroned him as the king. The Brahman, Chanakya himself could have been the great king, but he was a Brahman. He was interested in society functioning nicely and properly. So therefore,
Time of Alexander the Great as well.
Yeah, that's right. It was, I think maybe some devotees will have seen this series, Chanakya, and it's quite accurate.
Prabhuji?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyway.
There is he was such a clever, and he had at war, or as being a great politician,
Yeah.
he had policies which came to be known as Chanakya Niti.
Yes. Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Chanakya Nitya. And I've got a little statue of Chanakya at my house,
Ah,
where my husband got it from. Yes, he was a extremely bold and gentleman, but a very, very clever man, Chanakya Niti. And whenever something like how to decide the correct way out of this, then you use the Chanakya Niti to get the best possible way out of it.
Correct. And it's used today as well in politics.
Yes. Chanakya Niti is used today in politics. And
Yeah.
I think Narendra Modi ji does use it because he does direct the country in the way by using this principle, Chanakya Niti.
Correct.
very good. Yes.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada actually quotes him quite a lot. He even quotes him in many of the, like the Bhagavatam, he's quoted a few times. He's very, very powerful. Yeah.
His sayings.
His sayings. Yeah. Thank you, Nariman. Yeah.
Thanks.
Have you watched the series Chanakya?
No, my husband used to tell me. No, I haven't watched this.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
It's actually very good, isn't it?
Guru
Very-
Maharaj loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, he loved it. And it's worth watching on YouTube sometime.
Yeah.
It's not just entertaining, but it's actually very, it gives you a good idea of what happened.
Because Alexander the Great would have conquered more of Bharat if Chanakya hadn't stopped him.
So 20 generations of kings will follow, ruling over 200 years. And then this verse, then the earth will come under the subjugation of the kings of Kanva dynasty, who will manifest very few good qualities. So that's not the verse. That quote in the summary. So the kings of the Kanva dynasty, Vasudev, intelligent minister coming from the Kanva family, will kill the last of the Shunga kings, a lusty debauchee named Devabhuti, and assume rulership himself. The son of Vasudev will be Bhumitra, and his son will be Narayan. These kings of the Kanva dynasty will rule the earth for 345 years of Kali Yuga, which is quite a long time. The last of the Kanvas, Shusharma, will be murdered by his own servant, Bali, a low-caste Shudra of the Andhra race. This most degraded Maharaj Bali will have control over the earth for some time. After this, there will be many, many kings and dynasties ruling for thousands of years. And it's amazing how Sukadev Goswami would name those one after the other. Eventually, there will then appear a king of the Magads named Vishvapurji. He will turn all the civilized classes into low-class, uncivilized men. He will maintain all the citizens in ungodliness, using his power to completely disrupt the Kshatriya order. From his capital at Padmavati, he will rule that part of the earth extending from the source of the Ganga to Prayag, which is quite a long way. At that time, the Brahmins of such provinces as Shaurashtra, Avanti is like Indore, etc., will forget all their regulatory principles, and the members of the royal order in these places will become no better than Shudras. The land along the Sindhu River, as well as the districts of Chandrabhaga, Kaunti, Kashmir, will be ruled by Shudras, fallen Brahmins, meat-eaters. Having given up the path of Vedic civilization, they will have lost all spiritual strength. There will be many such uncivilized kings ruling at that same time, and they will all be uncharitable, possessed of fierce tempers, and great devotees of irreligion and falsity. These barbarians, in the guise of kings, will devour the citizens, murdering innocent women, children, cows, and Brahmins, coveting the wives of and property of other men. They will be erratic in their moods, have little strength of character, and be very short-lived. Indeed, not purified by any Vedic rituals and lacking in the practice of regulatory principles, they will be completely covered by the mode of passion and ignorance. The citizens governed by these low-class kings will imitate the character, behavior, and speeches of their rulers. Harassed by their leaders and by each other, they will all suffer ruination. And somewhere along the line, I missed it. I don't know why I didn't include it. But there's this verse which Mother Earth says, yes, you think you're great kings, but your lives are very short. So don't be so arrogant. You will die soon. I will continue, but you will be no more than a name. And in time, you'll be forgotten. So we should also remember our time on earth is short. And we should try to, as best as possible, help others. If we can help others, our life will have some meaning. And especially if we can help them in their bhakti, in their Krishna consciousness. Of course, that means we have to also be somewhat Krishna conscious. But if we can help others in that same process, then that will only be good for us. And even though lives are short, Krishna gives a lot of credit to somebody who makes an effort in this age of Kali Yuga to do something to please him. So this 12th canto is very much in this mood of, it's a difficult age, this age of Kali Yuga. But somehow Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have given this opportunity to us where even with all the distraction, all the disadvantages, we can really progress at a very fast pace. And that's because of the weaknesses in this age. So any questions, any comments, please?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Yes, I'm glad you omitted all the names of the kings, because I was just read through, as it was necessary to read, I read it. Second thing is, there are no kings. I wonder where we have reached now. After the Kanuva dynasty, at this stage in the Kali, there are no kings now for the last 50 or 70 years. So, and I don't know whether that has been predicted.
Yeah, effectively, yeah, he did. He basically, they were saying, I think there's a verse in there somewhere saying, thereafter, society will be just governed by Shudras. And if you look at, you know, the likes of Putin and Boris, you know,
yes.
Even Shudras are far, far superior, you know. So, yeah, he doesn't elaborate after a certain stage of the dynasties. He doesn't bother because he's so degraded.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Otherwise, we can stop today. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, and we'll continue, I think, on Monday with chapter number 2, which is really, really interesting. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.